Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for this episode of The Complete Advisor. This is going to be a treat. We're going to talk about a topic different, a little different than we've talked about before, and we're going to talk about Henrys. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Henrys, we will define that in just a second. This is an important demographic that a lot of advisors are overlooking, and they're just overlooking. They're looking too quick. They're missing the opportunity for the future. So joining me to talk about this, Harrison Quinn. Right here out of the heart of the country. Harrison, great to have you.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
HDQ Wealth.
Yes, sir.
You've been rolling on this the wealth tip here for what, 4, 5, 6, 7 years?
We've been an independent firm for almost 3 years, and
Nice.
I've been directly in the industry for about 6.5.
Nice. Okay, so you started your firm, you said 3 years ago. That must have been, that literally would, if we're doing the math backwards, that is like smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. That's gutsy.
Peak pandemic, yeah. It was definitely always a goal for me to be an independent RIA, start my own firm. Prior to advisory work, I had started a few other companies, very closely related, drone services and entertainment and nightlife.
Nice.
So very closely related to financial and wealth management.
Exactly the same thing. Same clientele.
That's right. And then also cryptocurrency hedge fund in 2016.
Nice.
So that was
2016. You're like way front runner.
Early mover. Yeah, I'm a billionaire just like the Winklevoss twins.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, thanks for having me. But, so I like to run businesses. I like to start businesses. I understand and enjoy that. But I always saw the writing on the wall there, and things inside and outside of my control pushed and prompted me to spring 21, mid-pandemic, launch and go out on my own.
Bless your heart, man. That's that takes some intestinal fortitude.
Yeah.
But the one thing I want to talk about is Henrys or Henry, right? So a term that I think a lot of advisors that we work with maybe have heard but aren't as familiar with. And so tell me if I get this right, because now I just by saying that just made me sound really old. But so we're talking about high earners, not rich yet is the term.
Yes.
And so I
think so too, maybe.
So we've got these folks out there, and I think what ends up happening is a lot of advisors, a lot of advisors that we work with tend to, and this is natural. You go where the assets are.
Sure.
You're not looking at income necessarily. You're looking at assets. Somebody comes into your office and you're making a lot of money. That's great. You have no assets. What do I do with that, right? So I'm looking to get assets under management, not income under management.
Sure.
But so we've got these high earning, not rich yet people, and so one of the things, and this is so X's and O's, and you and I were talking about this before, but how do we work with them? How do you work with them?
So luckily, and maybe not luckily, that has been the foundation of my client base and really my firm. Mm-hmm. Being 30 years old right now, my peer group is naturally around my own age.
Exactly.
And so I started doing the advising work, I guess, when I was 24, 25. And so many of my peers, especially locally in the Midwest, they're 1, 2, 3 years in their first job, and they're not even high earning. They're just low earning, but they're young professionals.
Yeah.
So these were a lot of my initial clientele, and I learned from them what I was learned to apply for the Henrys or Henry. And one, being a young advisor, and there really aren't a ton of young advisors in the industry.
No, there's not.
I think the average age is like 62, which is absurd. But it's a really, it's a difficult...
Makes me feel young.
Yeah, so young.
Just a baby.
It's all the shine up top.
All right, you're at it.
For those of you at home.
This, this is like opposites attract here, because it's like, that's a beautiful mane of hair.
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm wearing it for both of us.
Thank you. It looks great.
But, I want to do this, God willing, I can do this for the rest of my career and, professional life. And so therefore, and I've used this a lot with my existing clients and prospective clients, is I want wealthy clients around me and to be within my firm when I'm 50, when I'm 60. And most of those people are not rich yet. So they have a high salary, high income, but they even at this point with lifestyle creep, they're not able to put away a ton. but it's a combination of building a really solid foundation for those individuals and setting up your practice so that you can initiate and create good planning strategies and not being so reliant and worried about having large assets to manage or transfer, because that's where the bulk of the revenue comes from.
Mm-hmm. In the article that I was reading and kind of inspired me to have this conversation was talking about the idea of you have lifestyle creep, which is only natural, right? You start making a lot of money, you stop buying your underwear at Walmart, you go to Target, then you go to Nordstrom's, and the next thing you know, you're importing, Italian silk drawers. Yes. But it's just natural that creeps up as income creeps up. And, in today's social media world, I mean, there's a lot of people that are looking for likes and clicks, even in their personal life.
Sure.
So they're looking, you see these fabulous things, and it's like, I don't know if you've ever looked, you see maybe a friend, roughly how much they make, and then you see them on Instagram or doing something, you're just like, I know how much they make. How are they how are they doing that? How do you help rein that in so somebody's, it's not all about today, it's about assets for tomorrow?
Sure. And I think that largely comes from the psychological part of planning. I can't remember who it was, but it was a much older advisor at my first firm. And he told me, and he goes, go study psychology and I can teach you finance. And the interesting part about actually being a financial advisor or a financial planner is the financial aspect of the conversations really are 10%, 20%. So it's pretty simple. Like, I've got $5 million. Where do we invest? Preference, risk, capacity, time horizon, all of that. And then you're done. So you're talking goal planning, lifestyle planning, short-term, mid-term, long-term. And I think this is important for everyone to hear who's, a millennial and definitely younger in Gen Zs. But it doesn't matter. And I try to coach this to even my wealthy clients who are the kind of, the younger generation trust fund kid clients, where it doesn't matter. Not what you drive, what you drive, where you live, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And the focus should be on really preference based, to where if driving a nice car or living in a nice home and you can afford it means a lot to you, then do that. And it's the combination of understanding that some spending's okay, some lifestyle creep is okay, but not letting it completely weigh you down, and especially socially not focus and be worried about what are other people doing, where are they going, how are they spending their money, and how do I keep up? I've seen people who, want to go on really lavish, expensive vacations who don't like to travel, and they're simply doing that just because their friends went to Aspen or went to St. Bart's or wherever. And but they maybe really enjoy their nice car or their nice home, but they're spending a $10,000, $20,000 trip when they don't even like to travel.
Yeah.
So focus on I always say lead with preference on investments, on lifestyle, wherever it is. My family and father's in real estate, and we always have this argument of owning a home, renting a home, whether it's good, whether it's not, and that's for another time, another topic. But it always comes down to preference. I think people should buy a home, considering the fact that you can afford it, if you want to, if you desire to. Don't do it if you don't want to. It's not a massive, huge investment benefit that will carry you through your life. And so therefore, if you want to have a yard and you can only live in the place that you can if you purchase it.
I hate yard work. If I could pave over my backyard, I would.
Yeah, I mean I think renting's great. I think multifamily is amazing. So I'm not the guy to necessarily talk about owning. And I mowed and manicured 20 acres for my family all growing up in high school, and I never want to mow a lawn again.
Ditto. So it's fascinating. So there's this group, this demographic, high earners. We still have to apply the kind of the timeless, traditional, old school things. This segues. I was going to break this into a separate topic, but this is such a perfect segue into this. I want to talk about this right here, and that is with that group that you built the base when you first became an advisor. People, your peers. They're high earners, maybe they're not, but they're not. They don't have big assets.
Sure.
But when you build that baseline, those people that believed in you when you put yourself out there, as time goes on, your practice has evolved, and you've added high net worth individuals. The people that you really want. These were the people that believed in you, and you are damn happy they're there. But the ones the ones that you really want to build that practice on. they come later.
Yep.
But it's natural to provide because they're, when you're first starting, those people are precious. Mm-hmm. One, because they believed in you. I mean, when somebody believes in you, that's unbelievable. But they believed in you, and you probably be natural to shower them with maybe an unsustainable amount of attention. That they're if you graded out your segmented your audience, segmented your portfolio. Do you have your clientele?
Client base? A little bit. Okay. We're working on it. Systems.
Okay, gotcha. That's always the challenge.
Yeah.
So as you look at how you've got things segmented, somebody who was with you at the beginning would probably not get the level of love maybe that they would if they came in now because they maybe unjustified.
Yeah.
How do you, with your practice as it's developing, because you're right in this perfect spot, because you've been bringing in these high net worth individuals, you've got these awesome new clients coming in, you've got that loyalty. How do you balance that as you do your practice?
It's a great question, and it really is a daily, not battle, but it's a daily occurrence that we're figuring out how to manage and value our time, our existing clientele, our first round clientele early on, and then our future clients and our prospective clients. And I believe the derivative of many things is managing expectations.
Yeah.
And so therefore, with your evolved practice and with your evolved business and new clientele, with those new clients getting better at managing those expectations, and whether there's more revenue, whether there's more income coming in, managing the expectations there, but then with the new services and with the new experience and software, whatever it may be, managing the expectations and upgrading those original clients. So therefore, they will get the rising tide raises all boats sort of thing. Yeah. And so an original client who maybe was making $50,000 a year 7 years ago is now making $70,000 a year, and they've got a couple $1,000s invested with you, but still not from an asset standpoint or an income standpoint, not a large client for you. But they, in my opinion, should still benefit from the success of the advisor and the firm and the growth that had been had there. But specifically of how you manage not weighing yourself down with smaller, lower revenue generating clients has been a conversation that we've been having with some of those clients. And the nicest part and the most humbling part is a lot of clients will call and they might need something, want to move an account or increase contributions, whatever, these early clients. And they'll say, hey, I know you're a big shot now. I know you're working with, high net worth people doing millions of dollars. You can send me off if you want. You can send me somewhere else. You can tell me to move my account, wherever, which is very kind. And I immediately will stop them and I'll say, hey, no. Like I, through my entire life, have valued loyalty to the nth degree. Until a point, though. It's like trust but verify.
Yeah.
And so therefore, when those people call with those types of comments, I say absolutely no. I go, as long as you'll have me, we'll have you. But the reality is, like, those smaller clients and those original clients make it known. I go, you allowed me to get to this point, not you direct. Like you didn't, refer me all the clients. You didn't, put money in my bank account, per se. But each new client, when you're young, and especially if you're a new advisor out there, or if you've been a new advisor before, in your first 6 months and 12 months, saying, hey, I've never managed money before. I've never managed finances. Give me millions of dollars. Like
please.
It's a ridiculous sell, but we all have to start somewhere. And so making that value known to them, I think, is probably the most important part. And you could talk to that person once a year and they'll just high five you and say, hey, your account's doing great. This is what's happening, updates. But if you make them feel valued, which is true, it's all about being authentic. If you make them feel valued and thankful for their engagement with you, they'll probably never leave, and they'll probably refer. I've gotten so many referrals upstream from smaller clients.
How segmented are you so far? Like, do you have a client? I talk to him this many times a year. Are you?
We have a built out system somewhat, but I've told people a ton, and we have certain service level tiers and cost of planning. And I tell most clients, I go, you can call me whenever. You can call our team whenever. And I've never had to tell someone to stop calling us and stop asking questions.
Slow it down.
Yeah, and so therefore, I'm sure that might evolve and may change in the future, but currently that system has worked for us. But the important part, and reflecting on the early clients that are maybe lower revenue generating, because I'm also a very transparent, pretty straightforward person, and communicating that like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client who've been with me for 5 years, 10 years, this relationship has generated $500 of gross revenue. And it's not that that's a wrong thing, but that's just the reality. And when you have new clients that are coming in generating $50,000 or $500,000 worth of revenue, obviously the service level and expectation, should and may be different.
So we had a guest on one time he was doing a little bit of the subscription model with clients. Have you thought about that when it comes to your planning fee? Or do you do that?
Yeah, so we do that now. And so we this year we raised our prices, and we are absolutely, for the most part, only accepting higher level of assets and higher level planning fees through our growth and through our future projections of where we're trying to get. And so therefore you can segment, and I tell it, it's really an access level and service level of this tier versus that tier. But something in a little bit of an ode to the loyalty of clients and OG clients is, I tell people I go, here's our alleged kind of minimum, and this is our minimum fee to engage or asset to engage. But I'll always take meetings from referrals or friends or family, like always.
Love it.
And then most likely, like, they are an exception. If I have an OG client that I got 10 years ago, and they referred me to their mom or someone like that who's still not, doesn't meet those thresholds that we have currently set out, if it's a good fit, I will onboard that client. Yeah. Because it is, I believe, like, what you put in, what you get out, and at the end of the day, like, yeah, we want to grow our revenue and increase our profit margin, all this stuff, but it's a person business, it's a people business, and we're all here just trying to live a life on this spinning rock in the middle of space.
I have one last question for you for this episode, because this just popped into my head too. When it comes to, and I'm guilty of this. I know that I wandered about best. So I recently bought a new TV.
Congrats.
Oh, thank you. It was a big deal. Actually, it was a big deal.
It's a bigger deal than people think, especially if you have a wife.
Ironically, so we had somebody that came in and did some work on our house, and all of a sudden the TV that was on the wall had a crack in it that wasn't there in the morning, and I didn't see. Anyway, it was a whole thing, and my wife told me not, to be nice. Anyway, because TVs aren't, the prices of TVs have changed a lot.
Sure.
But at any rate, the concept of showrooming, where somebody goes out to, say, Best Buy, gets all their questions answered, goes home and orders, somewhere else much cheaper. So there is there's nothing you can't look up and see how to do on YouTube or wherever. Do you run into that DIY scenario did you run into that? Do you have to deal with that with, the non-large asset clientele? Does that come up?
Definitely. And especially with young professionals, millennials, Gen Zs, we often are under the false pretenses too that, we can do that. They can do that. Yeah. There's a YouTube video on it. We'll make it happen. Whatever, no problem. And I have starkly laid out my practice and my business and my clientele in a way that I want people to completely subscribe to me. Mm-hmm. So if we chat, we come in, they're like, hey, I think I'm going to do it myself. Great. Do it yourself. Like, not in a mean way, but that's fine.
Do you charge a fee for a plan though?
Yes. No, so if I have an introductory meeting with a client and they're like,
gotcha.
Hey, like these are my needs. This is, whatever. And we follow up and they're like, hey, I think I can do this myself or whatever. And I say, great. Like, do that yourself. Like, because I've found those types of clients too, will take up more of your time and will probably potentially leave for either someone who's cheaper or doing it themselves anyway. And as you know, the pain of onboarding a client and the resources and just the movement around that, it's a lot of effort. And that's before you make any money. And so therefore, I elect to believe in the fact that if somebody wants to do it themselves, let them do it themselves. And the easiest correlation I see is, getting in shape and losing weight or gaining muscle or working out is very simple. It's not easy. And people spend thousands and thousands of dollars on trainers, on, applications, equipment, all this stuff. And, half of America is still obese. So it's a simple process, but it's not so easy. And so therefore, and there's tons of people who are retiring as we speak every single day who don't have enough money for retirement. And they've had access to those resources for the last 10, 20 years, but they're still, not rich. They're not on a proper retirement plan, and that will continue to happen forever. And so therefore, you're subscribing to someone who can help you and be your personal trainer, your personal financial coach, someone who's in your corner and that will help you make those game time decisions. If you're a Henry and you're making that good foundational plan now, knowing that you have 10, 20, 30 years till retirement, and you can have that confidence that when that happens, we will not only have millions of dollars to invest as advisors and manage and make really strong recommendations there, but they're taken care of, and they can have that confidence and the ease of mind there.
That makes a lot of sense. If somebody if they look like they're going to run off and do it themselves, why invest in something that's just going to happen? That's going to go fast.
Yeah, it's a similar concept to where I've only had a couple of clients. In interviewing advisors, I tell people, I go, you should always get a couple options. And I think interviewing advisors is pretty great. But if I know that someone is after me is like going to go next door to go interview with the next guy, and after our meeting, they're still very confident. They're like, oh, I've got a couple more this week, and we'll let you know. I say, go for it. Don't worry about it, because our engagement is boutique and it is white glove and it's pretty specific. And I'm a specific person. And so someone, who comes in, I want them to look at me and go, that's my guy.
There you go.
And, and we have the capacity, and I have some credentials which, matter, don't matter, whatever it may be. But it's such a relationship business that I want people who will be in my corner if something happens. And if they're having to defend me, I want to build, a colony of people who support and subscribe to me, not people on every annual review. I'm really
reselling.
I'm trying to make, convince them that we're good, right? That sounds silly to me. And there's a lot of ways to make money in this world. And I love what I do, and I really enjoy it. And it's because from the beginning, making $0 a month, having no clients, I told myself I only want to work with people I like and I trust.
Yeah.
And I've kept that constant. And I've denied clients. I've said no to people. I've fired clients before when I wasn't fully making rent. And that is why I believe I'm at the position where I'm happy. I enjoy what I'm doing. And 99% of my clients, if they call me, I answer like, "Oh, what's up? This is going to be a great call."
Yeah, you should never, you should never be in a position where you see that someone's on your schedule. You're like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, exactly.
I can't believe they're coming.
Life's too short. Life's too short.
I like it. All right, Harrison, thank you so much. We're just going to wrap this episode right there. That was a perfect ending. Thank you for being on. We'll have you on again.
Yes,
and excited to watch how things go.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
If you do hit like, if you do hit subscribe, if you do hit follow, you will be the first to know whenever we drop a new episode. And we'd love for you to do that. Also, if you have any comments, I love comments.
Yes.
Let me know what's up. Let me know if you've got a topic idea, something you want us to explore. We're all game. So with that being said,
yes,
Harrison, thank you, sir.
Cheers. Thank you.